So let's talk about that, because what I remember about Rick Matthews, he was kind of, that was part of his appeal, was that he was sort of a seducer of, more like of the mind than of the body, but yeah, that was always kind of his thing. Do you remember what sort of appealed to you about him when you first read the script, and what sort of hooked you about this character?
You know what appealed to me, brother? Getting the job.
Getting work.
And truthfully, had it not been for Robert, for Bob, he fought to get me in the role. So I am ever thankful for that, and very thankful to see the room crowded. Thanks so much for being here, guys. You know, we had just as a little bit of a backstory. We had two sets of contacts. So for the human version, we had the blues, and for the gin, we had that red, yellow, black combination. And I remember, I think the scene with Angela in the store, who forever wanted to be beautiful, was the first day I shot.
Yeah, that was, and it was also that was the first day of shooting.
Yeah. And apropos of your question, I remember Bob saying, a little, like flaunt it. You're more, sexy, dude. And I was like, oh my God. Because, usually I'm crippling, maiming, hurting people, kicking dogs, kitty cats. So this was kind of new for me. And again, it was a door that I stepped through. Thank you to Bob and his direction. And I must tell you, I was a bit self-conscious about it, I must say. But thank you.
Did you feel more comfortable being covered up with all the makeup and costume? And
I did. It's interesting, I think, for an actor, and I won't speak for all actors, but I think being in costume is a bit of hiding. And my acting coach used to, Milton Katselas, rest in peace, used to say something about creative hiding. That in your role, think of a reason that you may be saying something, but perhaps whether it is or isn't the whole truth, you might put a little inflection in there. So the mask and indeed the contacts were a bit of creative hiding for me. It was a chance to sort of know that I was behind a screen, or a veil, if you will.
You're taking your anger out on the makeup. Once you got those in your eyes and you had the rubber on your face, you're like, what did I sign on for?
Well, first thing in the morning, I believe, 3:34 in the morning, that first brush of glue went on. It was kind of like Homer's glue, and it was cold as hell. But from then, hearing about the dailies, it was pretty exciting. And let me digress for a second. It was actually the night we'll tell the story about the stolen sound truck. But that was the night we started, actually, that was the first night we started by the dumpster with Buck Flowers. Beautiful actor, again, rest in peace. But, I'll just babble on.
Yeah. Second day of shooting.
Okay, that was...
First day at the docks, it was the second and third day. We were down shooting in San Pedro. They had the ship there with the green on it. And it was the night before, because we were tag teaming locations, and we were shooting the exterior pharmacy with Reggie Bannister and Buck Flowers. And that day, I got up to go to work, and got a phone call from Russ Martin, it's the line producer. And Russ said, hey, "You got the news on? Put the news on." And he goes, "That's our truck." I go, "What truck?" "The camera truck." And tailgate's down, cameras were falling out the back, high-speed chase going on, some guy got in it, cops were chasing him, all our cameras are all over the road, and I went, so what's happening today with this is how it's going to start, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh God, I'm doomed. Second day of shooting, I'm like, and it was a half a day, we had to order new cameras, took a half a day, and we kind of just took off for a couple of hours trying to figure out, how to squeeze the rest of the day in that half day. So.
And actually, Robert told me, he said, why don't you go, since you have time, and I was in the makeup, he says, why don't you go and get in front of the mirror and articulate the mask, make sure you know how to move it and how it moves, and work on the voice, because up until that point, we hadn't really picked a voice. We hadn't really even picked an accent, whether it would be British or not, or what would it be, but was a bit of serendipity. So sitting there, and that night I had, I think I had drunk my first protein shake. And I realized when I was doing this for you kids, I was having a Milky Way bar. Marsha was kind enough to pick it up, ferret it out. And so the whey in these things, I realized, and in the protein shakes, coats the throat. And I didn't clear it. So the voice came out, nice and good. So
Is it the horribles?
Yeah. Well, I think sort of the seminal moment when you might have realized that the film had sort of tapped into something was, it was at a Comic-Con 2 or 3 years ago, and Michael Fassbender came on stage, and he came out in the wolf mask. And I don't think anybody, I don't know how many people there actually understood what that was, but the
really
people that did,
yeah.
like, holy crap,
Yeah.
where did he, why is he wearing that?
Yeah, nobody understood why Michael Fassbender was wearing your next mask, because it hasn't really come out yet. But I mean, if you can have Michael wear that mask on Comic-Con, it's going to be good. No one stopped him. It was like, go ahead. He wanted to do it, I guess. I don't know why. I really don't know why he did that.
I'm not sure he knows why he did it. He might have just found the mask backstage.
Just put it on. Yeah, probably.
Or maybe he walked the show floor and ran the mask. I don't know. You mentioned, can you talk about some stuff you got coming up? You mentioned this TV series.
We wouldn't be here, you know, we wouldn't be actors and all of that. So really, you guys make the movie. So thank you.
You know, I wanted to start at the beginning because we'll get to the craft. But how did you start? What was your interest in acting? Did it start young age?
My stepmom was an actress in New York City, a theater actress. So I think at about 4 or 5, I went to live with them, and I just remember being a small child in the back of theaters when she was rehearsing, and being told to shut up, be quiet, shh, while they're rehearsing. So that was my first introduction to it, and then I just remember thinking that there was something really powerful about people up on stage, you know, and how you can become anyone. And, you know, like my stepmom was a completely different person in character, so that was sort of appealing to me.
So how did you start? Did you study it? Did you go to school?
Oh yeah, no, I studied with her, which, you know, like studying with your parents, not so great. You know, like I don't know if I was the best student then. And then I was actually a journalism major at NYU, and I left school to go study acting outside of NYU. Because you could stay at NYU and pay like $70,000 to $100,000, or you could leave NYU and go take the exact same classes, and so that's what I did.
Did you stay in Manhattan?
I did stay in New York. I'm from New York City as a kid, and then I lived back there.
What's it like to grow up in New York?
It's great. I mean, especially like, you know, I'm a grown-up, so when I was there, it's not the New York of today. You know, it was a very gritty city, but I loved it. When you're a New York City kid, I mean, I remember walking at 8 years old, you walk, you know, everywhere by yourself, and like, you'd never be able to let kids do that today, I think. So it's really great. It's a very I love that I lived in New York City. It's super multicultural. You know, you grow up with everybody, so you have a really global perspective on the world.
Did you do a lot of theater?